Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video I have something interesting to show you. I remember back in the 90s I used to collect these fridge magnets and cards of the Tamiya Mini4WD drive cars. And today I have my own track to race at home. And everything fits in this carrier bag here. Well, the track also comes with accessories like these packs for attaching the tracks, some stickers, and the assembly instructions. It also comes with a free car. It's a replica of the Aero Mini4WD series with a VS chassis, and it has all the parts. Alright, I've done up with the free car that comes along with the track. I painted the body shell yellow to match the stickers, so it's looking great. Now it looks like the original desert Golem from Tamiya. I've also added a genuine clear wing from Tamiya. This is the transparent high mount roller set. With reference to the manual, there are actually 11 parts in total. And there's a bridge section here which consists of 3 parts. There are 2 connecting parts that form the base of the bridge. And then there's the crossover bridge for the bypass to the other lane. Right now I have 2 sections of the bridge and they form the base of the overpass bridge. Now you'll notice that at the end of each section there's a plastic tab. And the way they work is they should go underneath the opposite section, like so. We will use these connectors to secure them together. For the connector, you can see an opening here, and this should face inwards. And we'll press fit it into the notch here. And likewise for the other side of the track. And that's how it's assembled for every section. This is a very simple assembly mechanism, and it works well. It's very rigid. As for the overpass bridge, it's different. We are not using any connectors to secure it. At each end of the overpass bridge, you could see this protruding part here. And these will fit into the slots here and here. Now let's dive into the specifications of this track. It has a width of 9.8 cm at the narrowest part of the track section. And here I've laid out all the different type of chassis that I have. So this is the Type 1, Type 2, 0, Super 2, VS, and MS chassis. So it's important that all these chassis are able to run on these tracks. So let's test out the Type 1 chassis. Yep, it works well for that. And Type 2, yeah, it's working well, even with the big wide rollers. The 0 has a narrow chassis, so I think the 0 chassis will work just fine. Let's find out. Yep, no problem there. Super 2 has a wide stance, so it'll be interesting to see whether it will fit into this 9.8 cm width. Wow, yeah, it fits just nice, but the clearance is very little. So if I'm going to change these rollers to bigger rollers, it's not going to fit on the tracks. That's something to keep in mind. And this is the VS chassis, the free car that comes along with the tracks. Yeah, sufficient clearance, no problems there. And the MS chassis, this is a modern one, relatively newer than the other chassis. Yep, no problems as well. Now the modern Tamiya track that's used in the Japan Cup has the width of about 11.5 cm, so it's going to fit a setup which has a wider stance. Speaking of a wider stance setup, here I have two hop-ups. One is the wider one and the other one is the narrower one. So this is the rear stay with roller set. It's a vintage hop-up part. Now I'm going to test the wider stance one on the car with the big white rollers. And it's a really tight fit. Yep, it's kind of a jam here, but we managed to slide through. Yep, there's a bump there. But if I use the narrower one, which is this one, then it works just fine. That's kind of disappointing because we would like to run some of the wide stance setup for our cars. But then again, this track is cloned after the vintage version of the 2-lanes track from Tamiya back in the day. So it's a pity that we can't use wider rollers on the Super 2, as well as wider stance, bumper or rear stay. Alright, let's put the tracks to the test by putting some cars to race them. Alright, the first car I'm going to test is the Egress with the Type 2 chassis. It has the one-way low height wheels and the vintage rear stay and roller set. Let me turn on the timer. So the faster slap is at 2.91. Next, I'm going to test the free car that comes along with the track. This is the Golem, Desert Golem. It's a replica, and everything is stock. Let's see how fast it goes. The fastest lap is 3.26, so it's lower than the Egress. Next we have the Zero chassis. This is the 2001 Avante. Everything is stock, including the motor. So let's see how fast it goes. Fastest lap is 3.47. Next up we have the Hornet. For this car, it has the one-way wheels for the rear and the trim low height wheels in front. It also has the Hyper Dash motor and the super high speed matter gears. So let's see how fast this runs. .84. Next up we have the Avante MK2 with the MS chassis. It has the atomic tune motor and sponge wheels. Let's see how fast this runs. Wow, it's 2.77. That's really fast. Next up we have this Manta Ray 2, which is made over to become an anime car based on the anime character Itachi Uchiha. It has low height wheels and a Marui Super Dash motor. Let's see how fast this runs. The car is still powerful, and basically it has broken. The chassis is ruined, as you can see. Alright, let's race these two cars. This is the newer MS chassis and this is the old school Type 2 chassis. So let's race the Egress and the Avante MK2. Well, we have the winner, that's the Avante MK2. And basically it's because it has the newer MS chassis and the motor is an upgraded one. It has the Automate Tune model instead of the stock motor inside here. Alright, let's race something of equal status. Let's try the Type 2 Egress against the Desert Golem, which is the VS chassis. Now these two cars had a close fight and the Egress is faster at the end. And it's interesting because the Egress is a Type 2 chassis from back in the 90s and the VS chassis came out at a later time in year 2000. Yeah, I found racing these cars and doing the time lapse on the track. So I recommend this track for beginners or for someone who just wants to have some fun with their Mini4WD cars at home in the living room. That's all I have for this video. I hope you enjoy it and see you in the next one.